Hello everyone, this is the penultimate reading from Running on the Roof of the World by Jess Butterworth, and we left it last time where Tash and Sam had made it to India. If you remember, Sam had been shot on the arm, so he was having his arm treated, and they were with the nomads and they were going to where it was safe and they were going to go and see the Dalai Lama. So, chapter 48, Market. The van shudders over the rocks, and I snap open my eyes. How long have I been asleep for? Sam, I ask, turning to him. My elbow bashes into the metal corner as the van leans. We're almost there, he says, gesturing outside. Some of the colour has returned to his cheeks. He's holding himself upright, and the glazed look on his face has vanished. I'm angry at myself for drifting off for so long. The truck picks up speed and air flows through the back, making wisps of my hair tickle on my cheek. The scenery we're passing is different. The mountains have turned into lush foothills. There are trees everywhere in all shades of green. It smells of sweet pine. I allow a tingle of excitement to pass through my stomach. Soon the hills are lined with buildings taller than I've ever seen. Houses, shops and hotels. The empty roads are now crowded with cars, beeping and overtaking each other. A motorbike weaves around our van with a woman in a pink dress and trousers, riding it side-saddled behind a man. Her scarf ribbons behind her. The salty water must have worked because my head feels a lot clearer. How's your arm? I ask Sam. He's staring, wide-eyed at the food sellers lining the road. The oily smell from their pans hits me in a rush of heat. Not bad, he says, as long as I don't think about it. Relief washes over me. I vow to keep his mind off the pain, thankful there's so much to see. What happened to that dog? I ask, pointing at a pack patrolling the road next to a cow. The dog at the back has no hair, and his skin is red and raw in patches. Skin disease, says Dawa. I wish I could help. A yellow and orange lorry overtakes us, beeping a melodic tune. Tassels swing in the windows. We're side by side, taking up the whole road. What if a car comes the other way? I ask. Don't worry, this is normal. Dawa slows to let him pass. Black smoke streams from the lorry's exhaust. I cover my mouth and nose with my coat. The van climbs uphill again, twisting round hairpin bends. My stomach lurches. That's where we're going, says Dawa, pointing at a group of multicoloured houses spread over 3 lush hills. The house walls are all light pinks, greens and oranges. Above the hills are small brown mountains, and behind them snow-dappled peaks point out. I think this must be the lowest in elevation I've ever been. We stop on a road enclosed by concrete buildings. A market overflows into the street. There are people everywhere, behind shop stalls, wandering in and out of the traffic, chatting on benches, monks and nuns in their robes, women in sequined saris, men in suits with round patterned hats. I close my eyes for a minute to shelter from it all. It's only when I open them that I realise what's different. There are no police, there are no soldiers, and no one's afraid. Chapter 49, Bones. Dawa opens the door and the air is full of snippets of conversation in languages I've never heard. My ears adjust to new accents. Dawa helps us out, dodging passing cars. I hear a rustling above me. Snow monkeys bounce on branches. They have black faces framed by a white tufty mane of hair. A baby plays, scampering along a branch and peeping out at me. I could watch them for hours. Dawa nudges me, passing Bones' tether into my hand, and I realise I've been standing in a daze. Follow me, he says. Can you walk? Sam nods. We pass under electric wires tied in big knots that hang overhead. As we wind in and out of the people, they stop and look. At first I think they're staring at us, but then I realise they're gaping at Bones. A child runs over and strokes him. Do yaks live here, I ask. Usually, but they live a bit higher up, replies Dawa. But your yak will be fine here for a while. I'll show you where to walk him up the hill. Bones' nostrils flare at all the new smells. We go through narrow alleys, ducking to avoid red and blue tin roofs. Prayer flags are draped over everything. 2 nuns with shaved heads chatter ahead of us. I glimpse misty mountains in the distance and instantly feel safer. When can we meet the Dalai Lama? Sam asks. He greets everyone who arrives in India from Tibet once a week, says the leader. Once a week? I ask, stopping in my tracks. We need to see him now. It'll be the day after tomorrow, says Dawa. I think of Mum and Dad and how the soldiers changed our lives in just a few seconds. I have to get there now. Where's the temple? I ask. I'll go there myself and get to see him. I stopped mid-sentence. Behind Sam, on the wall, is a blown-up picture, a large picture of a man surrounded by flames. It's as if I'm back there, a man on fire. My body trembles. Dawa places a hand on my shoulder. Some people have been offering their bodies to fire, he says. The man was determined to show the world he wasn't going to suffer under the regime. We were there, says Sam. We must honour their sacrifice. They act out of love for all people and don't die with anger in their hearts, continues Dawa. But we must also urge others not to do it. Why? Asks Sam. It's much better to suffer the things you are suffering in this life and develop compassion, love and kindness. That's exactly what Mum and Dad would have said. It makes me long for them. I can't blame the soldiers or the man on fire. I can't blame anyone. All I can do is try and make things right again. Sam clenches his fist. I'll never show the soldiers love, he says. They took Tash's parents. They shot me and they tried to kill me. You can't fault everyone for a few individuals' actions, said Dawa. The evening sun shines on us, showing the lines of strain on his face. Otherwise, you'll face the misery of giving your mind over to anger over and over again. Sam leans his forehead against the picture. It's not much further, says Dawa, beckoning us onwards. We'll get the doctor to come tonight. I take Sam's good hand in mine and follow Dawa to a small house. The windows have bars across them to keep the monkeys out. A spotted cat meows from the terrace. I don't have a stable for the yak, says Dawa, but there's this courtyard, as long as he doesn't mind sharing with a calf. The calf watches us with her big brown eyes as we enter. Bones needs a new friend, I say, feeling a stab of guilt about Eve. Well, that's sorted then, says Dawa. He can stay here. Dawa pays a lady carrying a huge bundle of grass on her back, and she bends and places a pile in front of Bones. She has a gold nose ring. I touch my own nose and wonder what it would be like on me. Bones munches on the grass, and it pokes out from the sides of his mouth. Don't worry, I whisper to him, stroking his soft muzzle. We'll be back soon. Inside Dawa's house, the first thing I see is a large photograph of the Dalai Lama. He looks older than in my picture. A white scarf is draped over the top of it. The leader lights a butter candle in front of it, cupping it with his hand to keep the flame going. There's a clock on the wall next to it. What's the date? I ask. The 10th of November, says Dawa. Sam catches my eye. I know exactly what he's thinking. The letter said the 11th. We've got to find out what it means by tomorrow. Chapter 50. Cold. Before dinner, I'm given fresh clothes. In the bathroom, I peel my coat off and Eve's hair scatters onto the floor around me. Frantically, I gather it up into a bundle and place it back inside the lining, making a note to mend the split seam. I take out the Dalai Lama picture and the ripped copy of the snow lion from the pocket, keeping them safe. I stand in the shower, letting the warm water pour over my head and down my back. My feet are bruised and blistered, but I'd have no toes if it weren't for Sam. Afterwards, I stare in the mirror. I don't even know the girl staring back at me. I touch my face and it feels rough. The parts of it the sun did not touch are tanned and the skin is burnt and peeling. I think about how far I've travelled and how big the world feels now. I've learned the ways my parents stand up for what is right. My hair is wild. You wouldn't recognise me, Mum. After living outside for so long, it feels stranger to be inside than out, and that evening we join Bones in the courtyard, not wanting to leave him alone. Darwa carries bundles of wood and builds a fire in the centre. He sings softly as he fetches blankets and cushions and scatters them on the floor before passing us spicy snacks that I've never seen before. Bugs swarm in front of the light in the courtyard. We worked out the message in the letter, I say. I wouldn't have expected anything less. But we can't figure out the next bit, says Sam. Can you help? It says, yaks will fly on the 11th of November. That's tomorrow, says Darwa, touching his beard. I watch intently as he sits and thinks. Sam and I rest side by side, leaning on Bones. The calf curls up by Bones' feet. My body is tired and achy, but my mind is awake and alert. Eventually, Darwa shakes his head. I'm sorry. My job was just to pass the message on, which thanks to you I did. I've no idea what that's about. Well, let's start with the date, says Sam matter-of-factly. Do you know of anything that might be happening tomorrow? We all shake our heads. Think, Tash. Did you hear your dad say anything? Sam urges. I've thought and thought, but there's nothing. I can't help wishing that I'd listened more at home or asked more questions. Sam sighs. Let's check the leaflet again. We scan the tattered snow lion. The only thing that could be happening tomorrow is the minister's visit, I say. But we don't know the exact date, and anyway, why would that be important? Let's keep it in mind just in case, says Sam. Now, what about yaks will fly? I shrug. I thought about it so hard, my head spins. Looking over the town, I watch bright lights twinkle everywhere. It's like nothing I've seen before. I hook my knees to my chest. There are no lights on the mountains, and their darkness looms over us. I look up to the stars and realise I can't see as many as usual. Darwa hums, and I let it rock me into a doze. I fall asleep with the leaflet in my hand, dreaming of ministers' visits and flying yaks. Chapter 51, Temple. I wake the next morning, and for a second I don't know where I am. The bird song is different. I hear car horns and drums in the distance. Then I remember Darwa, and it all comes flooding back. We made it to India. I hug my knees and wrap my blanket around me. Today is the 11th of November, and we still haven't figured out the code. The Dalai Lama is my only hope now. By the time I get up, Sam and Darwa are already sitting eating breakfast. Newspapers are strewn across the table. Darwa brought them to me to see if there were any news. Is there? I ask, joining them. But I can already tell from their expression that there's nothing. After breakfast, Darwood leads us into town. It seems big. I feel lost and I don't know where to start. This is the market, he says. In front of me is more food than I've ever seen. Omelettes fry at the side of the road. A woman perches on a step and eats thukpa. Shops sell jars of pickles and chutneys and spices. I peer into one of the restaurants and see plates of colourful Indian food next to the glasses of juice. What do you think that tastes like? Asks Sam, pointing at a flat brown bread filled with potato. It's all so new, it makes me think about how much I don't know yet. The following day, we walk through town to the temple, past street stalls selling prayer beads and brightly coloured clothes, and ladies cooking momos on the side of the road. After the endless silence of the mountains, there's noise everywhere. Cars beat their horns just to get out of the way. Dogs bark. The air is heavy with smells, incense and spices and burning plastic. I pushed past the masses in a daze. At home there was one bus stop. Here there are cars and buses and taxis and rickshaws. That's the Cora, says Dawa, pointing to a pathway near the road. The sacred circuit round the temple. I want to walk round it, I say, needing to escape and gather my thoughts. Sam turns to follow me, but Dawa catches his arm. You still need to rest. He turns to me. We'll meet you at the entrance to the temple, okay? I nod. Red monkeys lead the way for me. A mother, followed by a squeaking baby, tightropes across electric wires. The walk is lined with 108 red prayer wheels painted in gold, which I spin round clockwise as I pass. I try to do it fast enough so that they'll all be spinning at once. I rehearse my speech under my breath. Please help release my mum and dad from prison. The words sound so wrong. But it's not just them I want to help. There are all the other people like them who aren't free either. There's also everyone at home like Manny and Sam's dad. I think back to Dorji and his sister who helped me, and to all my neighbours and school friends. I can't forget anyone. Can't the Dalai Lama help them all? The walls are made of flat slates carved with paint and painted with prayers. I know I need all the prayers I can get right now. Now I'm finally here, now that we've made it, I'm terrified. Hello, says a monk, pressing his palms together. I gave him a little bow and continue. A boy and his small puppy catch up with me. What's her name, I ask. Cora, he replies. I found her here. She's a ball of fluff that scampers along, biting his feet. I walk behind him, scared to be myself, but unable to face the crowds in town. Next to other people, I realise how skinny I've become since we left. I breathe in calmly before hurrying to the steps. I can't be late. There's a queue at the temple entrance. I spot Sam waiting at the top step, tapping his leg. I step forward and stand next to everyone who escaped from Tibet into India. I had no idea there were so many of us. The line shuffles forward. Sam pauses in the doorway, hanging back. I grasp his hand and nudge him forward. Taking a deep breath, I step through the entrance. We wait in a courtyard under the blue sky. Monks line the balconies looking down on us. They reminded me of the monastery on the hill by my house where the gongs would go every morning. I remember the soldiers that surrounded us as I left. I turn to the person next to us to distract my racing mind. It's a young man with a baby in his arms and a toddler hiding behind his legs. Their mother died on the journey, he says, leaning in so the little girl can't hear. I picked them up and carried them over the mountains with me. Round scars dot his face. The girl hides behind him, peeking out at me with her big eyes. Hi, little sister, I say, bending down next to her. She giggles at me, reaching out a sticky hand, offering me a piece of orange. Is that for me? She nods and her 2 plaits of hair swing. I look down at my own hair and force my fingers through the tangled strands. A silence ripples up the line. I stand on tiptoes and squeeze my head over the shoulder of the person in front. I glimpse a strip of yellow on deep red robes. It's him. It's the Dalai Lama. He has a shaved head and big square glasses. He's round-faced and smiling, happy from the inside out. This is it. We made it. And we're up to chapter 52, which is Fly. And we'll stop there until next time, where we'll finish the book and find out what happens when she meets the Dalai Lama and if she does manage to rescue her parents. So we'll see you for the last time next time. Bye for now.